look now at this? Edge Radio Australia. This is Travis Malloy. Travis Malloy live at Edge Radio Australia. The real Malloy, the real McCoy, is not here today.
No, it's
Lucy Goosey with the shaved monkey. All the way doing Freedom Fridays on Monday, really messing up the show. This is awesome. Now, I just want to make sure Dan and Shaq, all the way from the USA and Sydney, I think it is, New South Wales. We got Shaq on the bottom. We got Dan on the top. You guys can hear us okay, right?
I don't like these this choice of words, I must say.
No, yeah. Well, I normally go on top, but it's not with Shaq.
Keep it clean. No,
I'm just clarifying. I don't do that kind of. I don't swing that way.
And we've got Derek live in the studio.
Where's Aaron?
Hey, I didn't do this.
Aaron.
I didn't do this.
You really did start it. You started it.
Web of lies. Web of lies. So anyway,
you can edit that out
Derek
anyway.
in the studio. The sane, the normal, the everyday awesomeness. I just realized that our tops are matching in color, or pretty close. By the way,
and on our screens they're both green. So I don't know what you're trying to tell us. If you guys defected, have you two in a city Melbourne, or is that the situation?
Well, he's from California, so.
I think they're trying to fade into the couch.
That's right. Yeah, we got the Californian, the Union boy. We're gone now.
Secretly, this is my attempt at camouflage. So I'm being John Cena, so no one can see him. No. So Shaq, I have to say, all I can see is the top of your head. But that's all good. We'll get that one.
Well, that's what happens when I'm on the bottom, apparently. As Doug Emhoff has just said at the campaign rally, Kamala Harris put her head down and went to work.
God.
He actually said it. It's not my fault. Give me a moment because I'm trying to bring a special guest in, so I'll be right back.
Well, Monica tried the same thing. Monica tried the same thing.
She did. So, but
yeah.
No.
It's just that Harris had a better business plan.
I'm going to totally leave this alone. So obviously we are doing Freedom Fridays where everyone's free to say whatever they want, clearly. So we do have the election coming up Tuesday night for us, Tuesday day for you over there, Dan.
Yep.
Let's get straight off the bat. Predictions. I know you're a Trump supporter, but do you think he has the support to actually win?
It's going to be close. Possibly. The thing is, I imagine the Democrats are doing everything they can do to rig the election. I mean, they're going to do everything they can. They're going to pull out all the stops. So here's what's at stake for them, right? Really what it is all about is the globalist agenda, right? And the folks that are controlling the economy worldwide and everything else. It's the same old story a long term. The Democrats have been bought and sold to those folks for a long time. Many of the past Republicans were too. Trump is not. And so this election is all about freedom, sovereignty, and independence from the global dominators, WHO and all the other crap that they want to try to impose on us, and eating bugs instead of, growing food, and all the other crap that they plan on trying to do to control us and control our minds and control our spot and to control our population and everything else. They're pulling out all the stops. And that's what's at stake with this election. Now, Trump is only going to be able to postpone it for 4 years. And then they'll be back at it doing their evil deeds. Hopefully, we can do something about getting rid of the illegals in mass droves and getting our elections fair and square again at some point. He's got a lot of work to do. And, I don't know if he can do it because he's got the CIA, the NSA, Council on Foreign Relations, and all the other people that are so nasty and subversive against him, along with all the Democrats that are currently holding various offices in the federal government that need to have their butts canned. But who does he trust? I mean, the problem is they're the never Trumpers and the people who are really closet globalists that you really can't trust either. So, what do you do? So hopefully the American people can see through all this crap and will vote Trump in this time because Trump's a necessity, even though, he's not a choir boy by any stretch of the imagination. But right now, we don't need a choir boy. We need somebody who's going to stand strong, stand resolute for freedom, stand up against the tyranny of the left and the tyranny of the war hawks around the world, and bring peace and prosperity back to our country and liberate us from the United Nations attempt to soil our soil.
Okay, so I do have a question because you did raise something there. So what America needs at the moment. So from the everyday American citizen, like we're seeing all the Camilla trying to push all these different agendas, Trump absolutely slaying her and just on every single thing, always trying to bring it back to the American people. What do you think the American people right now need the most? And I know from an Australian looking in, it just looks like a relief on cost of living. Is that what's going to be the most important thing for the American people? And is that what's going to determine this election?
Well, a lot of these issues are interrelated, right? Cost of living is because there's too many people chasing the same goods. A lot of the illegal aliens that have been brought into the country and then given checks to buy goods creates competition on stuff that regular Americans need to buy, increases pressure on prices, along with the incredible inflation that has been occurring in the United States, historical inflation caused by the policies of this particular administration. Many of the so-called initiatives that this White House was supposed to go after, which included, broadband internet and anything, haven't done a damn thing on, haven't spent a dime. They contracted Musk to do it, and then they took the contract away from him and sat on the money. What are they doing with the money? Well, I think I don't know. They're really, really nasty people. Yes, they need to drain the swamp. Now, Trump is a lot smarter than he was 4 years ago. He is gullible. The never Trumpers and the leftists and the globalist Trumpists took advantage of him. His former attorney general was a globalist. Other people who stabbed him in the back. He's going to be smarter this time. Hopefully, if he controls the House and the Senate, that'll keep the Democrats from trying to impeach him out the gate and creating problems for him every day. He can have most of these lawsuits taken care of by just canceling or pardoning himself, and getting the other people that were political prisoners released from prison and cleaning the slate. I think it's a mistake to go after his enemies in a legal way, because that's just going to create foment. It's going to waste time, except the ones who have actually violated the law and were criminal in the way that their behaviors were, and that they actually violated the federal or state law. I mean, the thing is, it's been weaponized against him. Turnabout, even though fair play is not the way we should continue to do politics in America. We need to reform it. He needs to be the example.
So, Derek,
sorry, I'm going to cut in, guys. A special announcement that our good friend Adam Lamparello will be joining us shortly from New Jersey. Well, actually, he's not in New Jersey; he's in Georgia. So he'll be joining us. I've taken the liberty of seeing him out the invitation already. Travis, I'm not sure if you guys have. I think Derek has. I'm not sure about you, but you'll certainly like the man. He's a little bit woke, isn't he, Dan? He's a bit of a wokester, but he's pretty good with it, He's a university professor.
Farther right than I am, probably, and that says a lot, right? No, he's a law professor at one of the Georgia law schools, and
so when he comes in, he's not going to know that we've had this conversation. So we need everybody to just ask him why he believes Kamala Harris has got such great policies, and just pretend like we think he's woke, just to kind of play with him for a bit. So I'm gonna say I've I've never disliked Trump, but I've never been simply enthusiastic about him. And I am now, right? Like I look at him so differently now. Right now, I actually really want him to win. I think that he's the right person, not just to lead the United States, but to be the leader of the free world. And yeah, like I think a lot of conservatives are backing up a little bit, saying, yeah, okay, he's a little bit caustic, and he's not an angel or whatever. No, bullshit. Who are we comparing it to? Are we comparing it to the politicians? Or George W. Bush, who had a DUI charge? I mean, who are we comparing it to? You know what I mean?
Well,
So I actually think that he's done a great job in the past. He's been put through the ringer. He's had the justice system weaponized against him. He's had assassination attempts. He's had all this sort of stuff that's gone on. And Kamala Harris, she's there without a single vote from the Democrats. No open convention. And this was something of the Democrats' own making, because everybody in the world could see that Joe Biden was old. He was old when he was running the last time. You know, do you remember he stood up on the stage one time, and the telephone number that you can text to, it's 30330. You know how I know that? Because it's the same number in every election for the Dems. He couldn't even say that. He was like, 33033. Like, he couldn't even say that. That was in his last campaign in 2020. But when he sat there and said, "Oh, we hold these truths to be,"
you know what I mean?
you know the thing. I mean, come on, right? Like the guy wasn't competent, and Kamala Harris is sitting there saying, "Oh no, he was fine. Oh, I never saw anything. He was brilliant. Oh, he's so powerful." Even after the debate performance, she kept trying to say that. So if that's this woman's judgment, there's only really two possibilities. One, she's lying and has lied for years. Or two, she has no judgment. Both ways, how can you vote for her? So coming into this election, even if Trump wins, but he doesn't win the popular vote, that's going to really worry me, actually. Like, I'm really hoping that our society, hasn't gotten to a point where people are actually rewarding political parties for this kind of behaviour. I mean, at least in Australia, we can say that 7 out of 10 Australians didn't vote for that clown that's in there now, Albo. And I will just say, in relation to your cost of living pressures, the last thing I'll say for a moment, Australia is a very competitive place. We like to compete on sport. We like to compete on everything. We don't play a lot of sports against the United States. And we are very proud of the fact, certainly the Labor Party, I'm sure, are very proud of the fact that I think we've got you beat on cost of living pressers. We've managed to beat you. Our inflation rate's higher than yours. Go Australia. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Probably not the thing we want to win. So I just do want to throw it
Well,
to Derek.
the Labor Party does.
With this. As a native-born Californian, now relocated to Australia. Yeah, I'm gonna rub that in every chance I get. Like the same as Shaq rubs in the union stuff with me. So
the poor bloke was like 3 months old when he moved here.
You can help that. I couldn't help that, right? That's the difference here.
So
you made a
born in
choice.
America.
I had no choice in
the
that.
question is, as a native
He was
American,
born in San Francisco. He wasn't, but we'll just go with that.
so I'm an Australian. Like, I don't. It's like telling an American Sydney and not Sydney. It's like California and not California. So as an Australian, I'm going to call you Australian from now on. So as an Australian looking in, what's your biggest concern coming into this election?
My biggest concern coming into this election is that they could probably, they being the left, even if Trump is voted in, try to prevent that from occurring. There are some narratives that, they could call martial law and delay the process of him getting in and all that sort of stuff. And when you see that Americans are boarding up in certain areas of America, that concerns me.
I don't blame him, to be honest with you.
I don't like seeing bloodshed. I don't think anybody likes seeing bloodshed. And that's the concern I have going into this. It's a very volatile moment.
My concern is you look at Trump is an extremely strong leader. I question how strong of a leader Camilla will be. We have countries like Russia. We have countries like China who are openly looking for conflict with Taiwan, Ukraine. Then you look at North, South Korea. That's always a questionable area at any given time. You have a look at what's happened over in the Arabic countries and also in the African countries as well. my fear is if the Democrats get in, we're going to have 4 to 8 years of constant hardcore war, not just like the little tats that we've been having, where if Trump gets in, we're going to see more civil, I don't want to say war, but more civil disobedience happening throughout America, where the Democrats are going to be pushing back against the Republicans. So that's my big concern going through. But we do have a few questions coming through. So Aaron, sitting there all on his lonesome, throws a question in here. In 2028, do you feel Vance will be able to win
continue
continue draining the swamp? I love his typo fat finger moments there. Anyway, awesome. So let's throw this one to Dan. Do you think Vance can actually win and continue to drain the swamp in 2028?
Well,
if
Trump
wins.
It's funny. Vance actually is pretty smart. Well, he's an intelligent guy by all measures. Yale graduate, top of his class, law review, all of that. Married to a very bright young woman as well. Very conservative. After he got over his bad feelings for Trump, he saw the light, and I think has figured out what the Democrats are trying to do, what the globalists are trying to do. Maybe he could, but I know he's bright enough to do it. After putting his foot in his mouth the first couple of weeks, he's smoothed out and is doing a pretty good job on the stump, which shows good signs he's maturing and adjusting to the political environment. So I mean, and DeSantis is still there, and others are still there that can. They've got a good bench. The Republicans do, as long, but the agenda of the globalists is such that they've got a plan for the world between 2030 and 2035, and they're not going to let anything get in the way. So I can see them polling another COVID-19 kind of thing or worse, or some other crappy false flag event to throw things off.
All right. So Derek,
I think the globalists have lost so much ground. I think they're desperate right now. I think they feel like they're backed in a corner, and that's what I think is going to play out here. That they'll do anything that they can to do this. I mean, look at how far they went to discredit the whole thing when they were bringing up, comparing what happened in Madison Garden to what happened in Germany 50 years ago.
Yep.
That's how desperate they are to kind of discredit things.
So,
and not just talking on policy here, it has remnants and try to put that shade on it.
I see they're desperate at the moment, but they're not backed into a corner. If Trump gets in again and he continues to drain the swamp, then Vance gets in and they continue to drain the swamp. Is it a case where they're now backed in the corner? They have no other options. Will Vance be able to pin them down? I've gone pig shooting before, and when you hit a pig, they become more dangerous when they're backed into a corner. Is the same thing going to happen to the globalist elite? So does Vance has probably the audacity is what I'm looking for to keep pushing them when their guns are down?
I think there's a lot of work that's already been going on behind the scenes that we haven't seen that's come to light yet.
I agree.
It's still going on. So I don't
have a guest.
I don't think we're just sort of starting over. I think it's already been happening, and it'll be.
So, Adam, I have introduced you to our audience as being our resident wokester. So I'd like to ask you why you believe that Kamala Harris is the best person to run your country, as you've been saying for the last several weeks.
That's a great question. And the answer to that question is, I think Kamala Harris being elected would be the worst thing to happen to the United States. I believe that Donald Trump will be elected and should be elected because we need a president who is going to maintain traditional American values, secure the border, focus on tax cuts, lowering the corporate tax rate, reducing inflation, all the things that matter to Americans on a daily basis. If Kamala Harris gets elected, you will see a continuation of high housing prices, high gas prices, high inflation, and you will see a cultural shift that bears no resemblance to the principles upon which the United States is founded. For these reasons, I pray that Trump is elected on Tuesday.
And on that
Welcome to the
note,
show,
welcome to Edge Australia.
Amen.
For our audience's sake, I do actually have some left-wing friends. Not many these days, but I do actually have some. The problem is that almost all of my left-wing friends in the United States and actually around the world don't like Kamala Harris. I've got friends of mine that are lifelong Democrats, whose parents and grandparents are lifelong Democrats in California, that are saying, we're voting for Trump.
Right.
So, you know, I just, I think that Trump's going to win. I would echo what Adam said. To your question, Travis, I don't actually think that JD Vance is going to win in 2028. It's a very, very hard thing to predict sitting here right now in 2024. I don't think he's going to win. And if the Democrats have any sense, which they don't, but if they did, if this was a massive landslide, which is what I'm hoping for, Trump to win the popular vote and Trump to have an almost Reagan-type win, what the Democrats would want to do is they would want to say, right, where have we gone wrong? What's the problem? Are we focusing too much on the trans issues? Are we focusing too much on regulations and taxes and things like that? How do we get back to the middle? Which is really what the Labor Party should have done after Bill Shorten. Unfortunately, the Labor Party said, oh, well, Australia didn't like Bill Shorten because he was too far left. Here's an idea. Let's go further to the left. So, unfortunately, it seems like they tend to win when they do that eventually, and I dare suggest the UK has done that with Keir Starmer. But I think the world, if you actually have a look at voting trends, and if you actually look at how people vote, even when left-wing parties have gotten in to Western countries, they're moving to the right. And so the electorate is moving to the right. So I think people are pretty fed up, and I think the Democrats would be well served if they did that. For centre-right political parties, we have to deal with a few things like climate change. We have to deal with a few things that Trump's actually focusing in on right now, which is people who are struggling to get by, people who are on fixed income, social security payments, that sort of stuff. They need to have dignity. We should be spending money on them and not immigrants that are coming into the country, that sort of thing. So I think that that's what centre-right political parties need to do. And if they do that, they'll crush the left. Because what's the left going to do? If they go any further to the left, they're going to go, what, to the left of Marx? I mean, what do you want to do over here? Interestingly, though, as I think Derek was alluding to, Raskin has actually said that they don't intend to certify the election. They intend to use Article 14, Section 3 about the insurrection and rebellion. So if that's the case, that'll be interesting. And what's most interesting about it is when you have a look at what's going on at the moment, now they're saying Donald Trump's too old. Now they're saying he's too feeble. Maybe Donald Trump is suffering from Alzheimer's or is cognitively impaired. After you've just been telling us for the last 3.5 years that there was nothing wrong with Biden. So I don't even doubt it at all that the Democrats will try to stop the certification of the election. And what will be very interesting this time round is that who certifies the election? Ultimately, it's the vice president. And who's the vice president leader of the Senate? It's Kamala Harris. So if Trump wins, she actually has to certify it. Oh, this will be interesting. I'm looking forward to watching this.
Okay, so what I want to do is we do have the special guest here, Adam. So what are like a lot of the people?
Adam will be a regular, I can assure you.
Beautiful, love it. I have listened to a lot of his stuff that he's done on other stations, so I do want to get a quick background on you, Adam, for the people who are the first time meeting you. So what's your actual background? And let's put Shaq to shame on this one because you've got real qualifications and real credentials from what I understand.
Well, I've just got made up qualifications in finance, have I?
So I'm originally from New Jersey. I've been an attorney for approximately 24 years. Focusing on appellate law, particularly at the U.S. Supreme Court. I've been a law professor, and I'm currently a college professor at a college in Georgia, in Milledgeville, Georgia. And I've written 6 books and over 70 law review articles focusing on constitutional law, criminal law, cognitive neuroscience, and legal pedagogy. I'm a New York Yankees fan, a USC Trojan alumni, an Ohio State Buckeye alumni, an Alabama Crimson Tide alumni, and an NYU alumni. And I love people from Australia, and I'll tell you why. Not only is Australia a beautiful country, but the people there are classy, cultured, and smart. So I'm honored to be on the show.
I think
I'm not sure that classy, given I'm the Australian you know the most, I'm not sure classy works. But Derek will tell you that for reasons I won't get into right now, that University of Southern California, or the University of Spoilt Children, as we might call it, is my favourite, or one of my top 2 favourite universities in the United States, and go the Trojans.
Fight on.
so. Wow. Okay, Adam. I knew you were qualified and you had a bit of a oomph behind you, but okay. I'm dumbfounded. So Shaq did raise a couple of interesting points about the Section 14, Part 3, or whatever he said. I have no
Article
idea
14.
what that is. Yeah. So what is that?
Are you talking? Is he talking about the 14th Amendment?
Yeah,
Jack?
so I'm talking about the nobody who's ever held office or sworn an allegiance to the Constitution, etc., can be in office if they have participated or run cover for somebody who's participated in a rebellion or an insurrection against.
All right, so this is the part of the Constitution that says nobody shall be a candidate for federal office who has engaged in an insurrection. The Colorado Supreme Court several months ago used this clause to disqualify Donald Trump from its ballot, saying that he engaged in an insurrection in a 4-3 decision. Then the Supreme Court subsequently overturned it unanimously 9-0 because that clause is only enforceable by Congress at the federal level and not by states. And the reason is very simple. If states were allowed to disqualify people based on their subjective view of whether they engage in insurrection, it would undermine our democracy, because then presidents would be on the ballot in some states and not others, and often because of political reasons and not substantive legal reasons. The Supreme Court averted that catastrophe by properly interpreting the text as originalists and saying that Congress, and only Congress, has the authority through either enabling legislation or otherwise to disqualify someone from the ballot, just as they have the power to remove a disqualification from the ballot if they so desire. The decision was correct. The Colorado Supreme Court was wrong. And now we have an election where Trump is on the ballot in all 50 states, and we'll get 287 electoral votes on Tuesday.
Wow.
So here we've got a situation. So here we've got a situation where even Ketanji Jackson has actually ruled against it. So that's the black woman that was appointed under Biden. She's even ruled against it. It was a 9-0 decision. Now, we've also seen, again, the amount of gamemanship that goes on in the politics in the United States at the moment. So we've seen that they've removed Biden from the ballot, but they've left RFK there. Why? If you're going to leave RFK there, then you should leave Biden there. Shouldn't you? Right? Now, secondly, why is it that Virginia has to take the matter to the Supreme Court about whether or not they are allowed to strike off illegal immigrants, or just immigrants in general, people that are non-citizens, from the voter rolls? That should be a given. So who's on the other side of that case? Who's fighting for them to be on? And we've actually seen this now in several other states where the Democrats have actually fought against the striking off of non-citizens from their voter rolls.
Yep.
Explain it. If it's not for the purposes of cheating or rigging or gaming the system, explain that to me.
Well, so both sides will engage in litigation to try to gain the best advantage that they can. When it comes to the first issue you raised about Biden and RFK, although I'm not an election law expert, I assume that because Biden was replaced by Harris and received the necessary delegates, he didn't need to be technically removed. He was merely replaced. When it comes to RFK, I suspect it's based on state law in various jurisdictions that govern whether and under what circumstances a person can be removed. And when it comes to issues like purging the voter rolls, that is largely governed by state law and state Supreme Courts. So it really comes down to a matter of interpretation. And what we've seen thus far has not given an advantage to either party. What has given an advantage to Donald Trump is early voting, which shows that there are more Republicans voting early. What's also given him an advantage that in Pennsylvania, there are 193,000 less Democrats registered and about 200,000 more Republicans registered. The enthusiasm for Trump is high. And the two issues that are most on people's minds are inflation and immigration. When you take those factors in their totality, it points to a Trump win. And the latest polls from the Trafalgar Group and the Atlas Group, two of the most reputable polls out there, show Trump with a 2.3% lead in Pennsylvania. And if he wins Pennsylvania, he goes to the White House.
That's awesome. So what I would love to do is we are getting some questions coming through. So I haven't got my reading glasses on, so I'm going to make this really big. Will America vote in big numbers this election? I've always had a prediction that less Democrats will vote and more Republicans will vote because the Democrats didn't vote for Camilla. They wanted Biden and they weren't given the opportunity. So I think they're going to have a bit of a protest vote. Well, lack of a vote as a protest against what happened.
Well, that kind of depends on how many semi trucks they can get into Philadelphia before the end of the election night, and if they can recount all those.
Well, they don't even need it on election night. They can just wait till 4 o'clock in the morning and rock up in a Ferrari.
Yeah, that's
and
it.
Drop
That's
them off,
exactly.
right?
That's exactly.
But
it.
I'm hoping that Derek and his family. And look, I'm not going to speculate on how Derek might have voted. I have absolutely no idea. But I hope that Derek and his family have sent in their mail-in ballots to California or wherever he's still registered to vote.
You know, I have no problems. I have no problems whatsoever with liberals in Australia because those are educated liberals who think.
That's because the Liberals in Australia are actually the centre-right party.
You caught me. Damn.
It's the Labor Party that's the super left.
So here's the thing about voting. I think the turnout will be somewhere between 130 to 140 to 45 million. And the reason is because last time it was easier to vote. You had drop boxes all over counties throughout the U.S. that encouraged ballot harvesting. And the Democrats, I wouldn't say committed fraud last time. What I think they did was they took better advantage of these rules than the Republicans did. Those rules are not in place now. There's no drop boxes. And because of the factors I said before about the motivation of Trump voters, the lower registration of Democratic voters, and immigration and inflation being the two major issues, I think Trump wins in a close election with 287 electoral votes.
So I just want to point out a couple of things. I slightly disagree with you on that, Adam. I think that what the Democrats did was they actually gamed the system. They changed the rules. And if we look at Pennsylvania, for example, what they did was they used the judicial branch of government to change the rules on these mail-out votes. That's not the judicial branch's role. And of course, it was a Republican-held legislature. So what they did was they gamed the system to their advantage. And then the only appeal that could happen was back to the same judicial branch that just ruled against them. And the Supreme Court never picked it up. So I'm not going to say that they cheated by bringing in, fictitious ballots. Certainly, I think that ballot harvesting went on. Certainly, I think that they. I don't think there's any credible evidence that they changed the counting machine numbers, as fun as it is to go down that path. But I certainly think that there were a lot of things that would lead to distrust. They stopped GOP poll watchers from being able to watch the ballots being counted. They just engage in all sorts of things, which really is a threat to democracy, does undermine democracy, instead of the GOP doing it. So that's what I think that they did, and I think they're going to have a much harder time doing that this time around.
And the Democrats have been doing that since Lochner versus New York, the Warren Court, and especially Griswold versus Connecticut, when they invented unenumerated constitutional rights out of thin air, which led to one of the worst decisions in the 20th century, Roe versus Wade. They have been
look. I'm gonna disagree with you on Griswold v. Connecticut because of my views on the Third Amendment, but that's perhaps the debate on the other side.
Okay, so gentlemen, just quickly before we get into that one, I just want to jump in. So what I'm hearing here is both of you are saying that the Democrats used the system because they had a better knowledge of it than the Republicans. On that note, if you do want to learn great financial systems and all that sort of stuff, you really need to have a look at Blue Sky Factory, Derek's website, where he teaches people about the financial systems, and the link is on the bottom of the screen right now. Okay, gentlemen, round two, fight.
So Adam is actually going to be enrolling in your course, Derek. I'll discuss that with you later. I'm just going to spring it on you on air. But I'm told Adam that he needs to do your course. Look, I'm not saying that the Democrats knew the system better. I'm saying that they gamed the system, right? That what they did was they manipulated the process, and that's different to knowing the system. And I just find that to be reprehensible. And look, thankfully, we haven't seen that happen in Australia yet. But have a look at what they just did in the UK. Look at how ridiculous the system is in the UK. Nigel Farage, with the amount of votes that he got, and yet he doesn't have the same sort of seats. It's a complete mess. Dan?
All right, we've got to throw it to Dan.
Well,
Dan's slightly putting his hand up.
Yeah. And the other thing is Zuckerberg isn't putting $700 million into ballot box stuffing this time around. He actually thought it was badass for Trump to stand up and fight after the assassination attempt, and decided to sit this one out. I think that's a wise decision. I think some other people are thinking like that too. I mean, Trump has Musk on his side this time for the very same reason, because Trump is a real man who's willing to stand up to enemies of the state, both in America and outside its borders.
Well, back to Zuckerberg for a moment. How much of that is what Washington Post have just done and said we're not going to endorse the Democrats right this time, because they're looking at the voters and polls and going, look, this guy's likely to get in if we start coming out and saying, hey, we endorse, the Democrats. How will that bode for them? Especially because you've got Trump also getting into social media right now too. And boy, have there been a lot of swings on that stock. So I think, how much of this is political? How much of this is actually, hey, we need to preserve our own skin moving forward?
I think that's more of it with Zuckerberg, because Elon Musk has gone all in with Trump. He's already brought out Twitter, which is a direct competitor of Facebook. How much does Zuckerberg really want to poke the bear, which is Elon Musk? Because if he really wants to, if he throws down against Elon Musk, I don't think Musk will survive.
Oh, Musk will survive it, no problems. But Jeff Bezos actually wrote an op-ed for the Washington Post, and he actually, and I'm paraphrasing, obviously, mostly paraphrasing, but he actually said what's very clear is that the people no longer trust big media. And it's like, wow, it only took you 10 years, but, well done, right? Because people don't trust big media, and especially the big media of the United States. And I think people don't trust big media in the UK, and we're losing trust and faith in big media now all over the Western world. But they're not being objective. They're not giving us real information, and they're very, very one-sided. We can see that. What's very, very interesting is the LA Times. And I love the Californian liberals, because they're all now saying, oh, well, I'm going to cancel my subscription to the LA Times. The LA Times, there's some big right-wing thing. Really? The LA Times is a right-wing newspaper publication? This is the very same LA Times that said after the recall attempt and then the election for Gavin Newsom against Larry Elder, that actually labelled Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy, right? That's the LA Times that you are now claiming is too right-wing? Really? So, I think the writing's on the wall for big media. And I notice that CNN, to their credit, I will give them some credit. CNN are, I believe, course correcting. CNN have realised that the audience and the people are sick and tired of it, and they are course correcting, and I hope they continue to do so, and I hope that they get back to being the respected name in news that they once were. And most notably, Jake Tapper recently called out the lie that Donald Trump had said that Liz Cheney should be put in front of the firing squad. He didn't say that. And Jake Tapper was very, very clear that is not what Donald Trump said. So hopefully CNN will continue down that path instead of the path that they have been on for the last decade or so.
So
I think go ahead.
Yeah, you go, Adam.
Well, I think Shaquille's 100% right. The media is so obviously biased that they interfere actually with creating an informed democracy and the welcoming of diverse perspectives. On the other hand, I think at this time, Shaquille does need to repent, because his support of Griswold versus Connecticut is support that the California liberals are applauding. And quite frankly, I'm appalled. And I think Shaquille needs to apologize and tell readers, he tell viewers he just didn't mean it.
So to our viewers, especially Australian viewers who have absolutely no idea what we're talking about, there is a question of whether or not Roe v. Wade should have actually been legislated by the judicial branch, which is the court system, or whether or not that should have been done at state or federal level. And in the original ruling, it was about rights that are in the penumbra of the Constitution. Now, Adam and I have had a long-running disagreement about Greenwald versus Connecticut. The reason I don't agree with that part of it, where I do agree with him on Roe v. Wade and the Dobbs decision, is because I believe that the Third Amendment, which is something that has never been challenged, I should move to the United States, become a lawyer just so I can challenge this. The Third Amendment has never been challenged, but I believe that it sets out a set of rights to privacy and a set of rules that tells the government to get the hell out of your house. And I base that both on the wording of the Third Amendment and also what it said in the Magna Carta. And just so happens to be that I have a book here called Know Your Bill of Rights and the Magna Carta. So it's something that I'm
Magna Carta was plagiarized.
Of course it was. Everything's plagiarized. So what I want to do, we are getting more questions through. And this was actually going into what you were talking about before with CNN course correcting. The globalist arrogance has woken up around 30% of the population. Do you think not only CNN, but also other media that have gone so far down the left side of the politics are also going to correct themselves? Is this because they think it's the right thing to do, or are they just chasing the dollar? Let's throw it to Adam. He's a special guest. Let's get him to it.
I'm going to hypothesize here, and I don't have a great factual basis for saying this. But first, yes, of course, they're chasing ratings. Yes, of course, they have a political bias. Yes, most of them are far left liberals. But I suspect that something more is going on here that goes beyond the president of the United States. I think that extraordinarily wealthy people throughout the world are trying to reshape our global governance. And I suspect that behind the scenes, that's what's really happening. And they are trying to foment division intentionally and ultimately promote a government that is global, that is socialist, and that controls people and gives them less freedoms. I cannot back that up by any factual data, but I suspect that is going on. And I know Dan has a background in Homeland Security. So you tell me, am I a conspiracy theorist? Am I onto something?
No, you're absolutely right. And it's been going on for about 100 years. It started with the Rockefeller's funding of the United Nations and putting the money for the United Nations. And it's been continuing on, the pressure, the Agenda 51, all the things that happened are being fomented out of the United Nations and out of Davos and the Council on Foreign Relations and the other groups that are fomenting the kinds of policies that would destroy our sovereignty, destroy our freedom and our liberty and our God-given rights. Because, like you said, they're socialist and anti-theocratic belief systems that are promoting all of this, because they want to control and subject mankind to their rule and to eliminate the sovereignty and independence of people and their independent thinking and their ability to have free and free discourse. Now, look what the Biden administration did. They censored conservative views time and time again, going and coercing Facebook and Google, and they tried Twitter. What did Musk do? He bought Twitter. He got to the bottom of it and found out their chicanery. But this is the kind of thing that Kamala Harris will continue to do if she's elected, because that's exactly part of the agenda. It's all part of the globalist agenda to control us and to create. And I think we'll see under the COVID-19 or other type of emergency that they created. The last one in the laboratory, Obama funded it through North Carolina labs and funded Wuhan and the other. And it's it's proven, it's documented that he did that, and that America was involved in the North Carolina lab was involved in conjunction with the Wuhan laboratory. And this was released on the people of the world and Americans. Millions and millions of Americans died. Trump paid the political price when it was actually the Democrats and the one world people that actually promulgated this against the rest of us. And so this is a bigger picture than just this election, but we need to keep the globalists. We need to keep the Democrats who are bought and paid for, the Soros types, out of power, out their hands off our government.
I think what's interesting is that a lot of people are waking up to the whole concept that when it comes to the Democratic Party, it's an establishment. So I think there's a lot of Democrats who are not happy that Kamala Harris is running for president.
She shouldn't have been there.
And it's particularly after how long has she known that, the Biden is not competent.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And it's been hidden. So it's kind of like, and of course she reads her scripts. She can't go off the cuff. She won't even show up, even when she's in town for an interview with Joe Rogan, when Trump spent 3 hours with the guy, and she has to limit it to an hour. It's kind of a lot of Americans are seeing that as a signal that, hang on a second, what is going on? When it comes to the Democrats, we've got an establishment running this as opposed to the individual, whereas the Republican campaign is so Trump focused. Just looking at it from a marketing perspective, Trump's the brand, right? But that has greater implications, as Adam and Dan have pointed out, globally.
I have to say, as an everyday Australian looking at the American campaigning, Camilla just seems batshit crazy. She seems like she's fixed. She's not allowed to talk to people. She has no actual idea what the everyday person is going through. Again, another Hillary Clinton, but this time she's black Indian instead of being a white crazy woman. Where Trump, he takes every single insult thrown at him and he just runs with it. He turns it around and uses it as ammunition to fight against these other people. Like, have a look at the latest one where they called the Republican voters trash. So he rocks up in a garbage truck with the vest on. Then he does his campaign in a vest. Like, that's just screaming to the people, right, I need your help.
Not even the whole McDonald's thing, right? Even the whole McDonald's thing, right? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. So it's just, I find he hands down the better campaigner, the better marketer, and he's one of the people, like, he just runs with it.
Well, that's exactly it. He is the people's president. And I think that's what the Democrats, they've been bought out. And it's starting to show.
So she rocks up, right, at the Brett Baer interview with Fox. She rocks up late and then limits the interview to 20 minutes, barely leaving him enough time to get the interview out. She goes on SNL. So she was on her way to Michigan, and she actually had the plane turn around and land in New York so she could do the SNL skit. And she plagiarized that. She even plagiarized that. She actually used the same skit that Donald Trump did with Jimmy Fallon on SNL. Are you serious? She gets up on stage and she says, this, just put in perspective, this is a woman that is yet to do a press conference, okay? She gets up on stage and says, Donald Trump won't do interviews. He's done more interviews than she has. He's done more podcasts. And she gets up there at one of her rallies and says, she puts her hand like this, and it makes you wonder, why are they hiding him? Maybe he's too old. And yet he's outpacing her, doing more interviews. He's in more states. He's going all over the place. She's crazy. And just in the note about, the global elite. Look, I think it's these big corporations and their owners that want to be able to do all of this stuff. I think you're seeing a lot of people that are able to earn good money wanting to leave legacy countries so they can have a bit more freedom and they can keep more of what they earn. And Donald Trump's responding to that and saying, look, we're going to create business conditions in the United States so that you can actually come here and run your businesses and be entrepreneurial here. And we're also going to cut taxes so that the everyday person has a little bit more in their pockets. What are the Democrats planning to do? To introduce price controls and then to try to not incentivize businesses, but to punish them? That's not going to work. And we know it's not going to work because it never has.
Okay. So we do have 10 minutes left of the show. So obviously there's 4 guests in the studio, including Derek. So what I want to do, I know you guys get heated. So what I want to do, I want to throw it to Adam. I want to get your prediction. I want to see how much you think your person is going to win by, and what's the biggest thing that you think will come out of this election.
By the way, there's 5 of us. There's 5 of us here.
One, two,
I'm
three.
approximately
Yeah,
60% confident. I would say 60% that Trump will win 287 to 251. Now, what's this election is going to turn on is 2 things. The Democrats to win depend on 2 things: stupidity and dependence itself. The Democrats have tried to pull a scam on the American people and to pull the wool over their eyes. And if the American people are not wise to this, they will get duped, and that could cause Trump to lose the election. The second thing is the Democrats want the population, particularly African Americans, to be dependent on them. You saw that with LBJ's welfare programs. They have zero interest in elevating Black Americans into the middle class, because if they did that, they wouldn't need them anymore. So ironically, they claim to want to help them while keeping them down with policies that leave them in poverty, but yet get their votes. If the American people have enough common sense, Trump is going to win. If they don't, he will lose. But I predict that enough people in Pennsylvania will go Trump's way in a close election, and that will give him the White House.
Okay, awesome. So in a what is it called, the popularity vote, how much do you think he'll win the popular vote?
I think he will. I would say it's about 50-50 that he will win the popular vote. But to me, that doesn't matter. I think that's the Electoral College. If he wins Pennsylvania, he's going to win the election, because I think he's going to win Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and even Nevada, and possibly Wisconsin.
All right, awesome. So let's throw it over to Dan, because Shaq has a habit of waffling on. So Dan, same question. Who do you think is going to win, by how much, and the biggest takeaway from this election?
Trump, as much as 312 electoral votes.
So a sea of red.
Well, no, it's not a sea of red. It's just it's not even a blowout. It's going to be very close. But according to the polls that I've seen and the numbers that I've seen, I've been watching it again closely. He might be as high as 312. Now, anything above 270 would just absolutely thrill me. But Adam's right. It's going to be close on the Electoral College. But you got to remember that California and New York, they stuffed the ballot box to the point where the margins are very, very high. And so there's a lot of rigging and ballot harvesting that goes on in California. And if we're smart, and we got our people doing the same thing in California and New York, but California is a lost cause probably, and New York is a lost cause, although he spent plenty of time, and the margin for Harris will be smaller in New York as a result of the hard work that he's done there, but people can't break their old habits of liberal ideology and stupidity.
Okay. And now, Shaq, surprisingly, these guys wrapped up really, really quick. I'm going to leave it to you.
Well, I'm a bit more bullish. Maybe I've gone from being the resident liberal to the right winger. I don't think that she'll get to 200. I think that he will get 340 or more. I think it's going to be an absolute blowout. I think he'll win the popular vote. I think he'll win all 7 of the swing states: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Arizona, and Nevada. And I think that he will win Virginia, as I've been saying for months and months. And I think that New Jersey, New Hampshire are in play. And as for New York, I know it's a real long shot, so I'm not going to die on this hill. But given that they released a poll in New York that said that she was up by 7 or 8 points, which oversampled Democrats, and given the momentum on the ground in New York, I'm not prepared to write New York off. And if he does win New York, then you're talking about a Reagan-style win, because then you're talking about Connecticut, you're talking about Delaware, which is Biden's home state. Dare I say you're talking about Rhode Island. Again, these are long shots. Minnesota, I think, would be in play. And I certainly wouldn't be surprised if he won Colorado, given the Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes in Aurora. I think New Mexico, being a border state, they're pretty frustrated. And I could actually see Oregon go if New York went. But I'm not predicting that, but I am going to predict there'll be some upsets. And I think that he won't get to 200. He'll be well and truly 330, 340, 350 plus.
Okay. And the final one, Derek, in the studio. Hey, you're on the big screen now.
Hey, on the big screen. No, look, I think Trump's going to win it.
Percentage?
I think. Look, he definitely. I think he'll win the popular vote. I think it's going to be a sea of red. I think Americans woken up. I think it's been fascinating to see how many Democrats have jumped ship and gone to that. I mean, look at who he's won over, JFK of all people. You know, he put a Kennedy, he converted a Canadian Kennedy into a Republican. I mean, gosh, that's extraordinary. He's got Musk there as well, so he's got the entrepreneurial push as well on the tech sector, which is fascinating, and also on the space sector, which is really, really interesting. He's also got, in terms of as far as the other Democrat, Tulsi, can't think of her surname at the moment, is left wing.
Yeah, I like her.
Yes, thank you. She's come over as well. That's a huge, strong team to come out endorsing Trump at this time. Yeah. And I think it would make a lot of people question, you know, what is going on? Why are these Democrats jumping ship and coming over to the Republicans? And I think it's going to be fascinating how this plays out. At the moment, no matter what it seems that the Democrats throw at Trump, it just fires back in their own face, which is really interesting to watch.
How many?
I couldn't put a number on it. I don't know.
I think,
come on, don't be like that. Put a number on it. We're all going to be wrong.
Come on, Derek. Put a number on it.
I'd like to also air a grievance on this show.
I'll go with Jack's
show. I have a grievance.
Well, I said she won't get to 200. She won't get to 200, so it'll be an absolute blowout.
I agree with that opinion.
Okay, sorry, what was that, Adam?
I was saying I want to air a grievance on this show because I'm going to tell you what. Australia is such a beautiful country. The people there are classy, cultured, very smart. But you all decided to create a country way out in the ocean somewhere where if I want to go visit, I have to fly 16 hours. And I don't appreciate that. So I'm just saying,
English.
Firstly, we didn't create the country. There was a bunch of bloody bread-stealing convicts. There was a bunch of bread-stealing convicts that were shipped over here, and then the rest of us in the world said that sounded like a good idea. Like my family that were taken by the Brits from India to Fiji went, let's go join the convicts in Aussie. That's how that happened.
It's kind of funny. The only actual Aussie here is one that doesn't get answered. First of all, it wasn't by choice. Secondly of all, once we got here, it was by choice. We stayed here because we just wanted the rest of the world to politely get stuffed. Normally I use the F-bomb, but anyway. But it is a great place. We do, hands down, and you're going to love this one, but we do have the best beaches. We do have the best people here, and we do have some of the most retarded politicians here as well. So you'll get right in Australia. You'll love it. Like, you got Democrats over here. We've got the Labor and the Greens over here. They just peas in a pod, literally. So anyway, we do have only a couple of minutes left over. We've got a heap of questions coming through. We'll have to grab them another day. Thank you for everyone who's jumped in. I can see the regulars there. We've got a few extra people coming in as well. Awesome. So Caitlin, we've got Deployed. We've got Damos here again. Absolute legends. Thanks you all for everyone. So my prediction, I think Biden is going to have another gaffe today. I think he's going to say something absolutely... You know what, bugger it, absolutely retarded. He's going to be showing his age. He's going to show how bad his brain is working, it not working at all. Trump's going to jump on it. He's going to absolutely slay them. And there's not going to be enough time for Camilla to try and counter it. And I think I think she will get over 200. I think it will be like 210, 220. But I definitely think it's going to be Republicans for the win. And the other thing to take into account is how badly can the Democrats dodge the numbers within the systems. I think the Republicans are now more aware of what they're going to do, so there's going to be more stopgaps on it. So I don't think as many Democrats are going to rock up. I think it's the biggest thing is going to be the turnout by the Republicans versus the turnout by the Democrats. So
I don't think there's a brain malfunction from Biden. I think he's doing it deliberately at this point. I think he's actually regained some brain function like Fetterman has. And I reckon that he voted for Trump in that ballot box when he went and voted the other day. I really do. I reckon he's so pissed off with the Dems. Just have a look at where they're spending the money. The Kamala Harris campaign is out there saying to women, nobody knows what happens in the ballot box. Even if your husband's a Republican, go and vote for Harris. That's not going to happen, sweetheart. They're not going to do it. He is doing better with women than what she's doing with men. His numbers with blacks are up, especially black men. She's gone. She's absolutely gone. Honestly, she's absolutely gone. She's got no idea. And then she goes to a barber shop Like, yeah, a bunch of men sitting around in a barbershop want to be lectured to by a woman. You don't see me going down to Ella Bachet and trying to talk to women as they're getting their legs waxed, do you?
No,
Maybe I should
I
try
don't.
it.
Maybe you
Maybe that's
should.
why I'm still single. Maybe I should give it a
Unless
go.
you got yours
Anyway,
waxed too.
On that note, Shaq, we do need to wrap it up. It has been Edge Radio Australia. This has been awesome. Adam, thank you very much for coming in. Hope you come back a lot more often as well. This has been an absolute hoot. So we're going into some music. I don't know what Aaron's put in here, but it's fun, shits and giggles, and let's get to it. So edgeradioaustralia.com. We've got blueskyfactory.com.au with Derek. We've got Shaq over there. We've got Dan in the US. Adam, again, woohoo, go America. Good luck with the election, and we'll see everyone shortly.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to press
Take
play.
care.
Different mic.
Adam, get back. I'll get Adam back.